So here we have this LEGO Star Wars 75331 Ultimate Collector's Series, the Razor Crest. And oh my gosh, this box is huge. Anyway, this is my first UCS set and by far the biggest set I've ever attempted to build. So let me just go ahead and open it up. I guess we'll start with box one here. Let's go ahead and open this thing up. There they all are laid out, and it's crazy. These things take up my whole table. Then there's two pretty thick instruction booklets. They came in these cardboard envelopes, and that really helps keep them flat. Anyway, this thing has already taken up my whole table, and I can't wait to build it, so let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll get back to you with the second box. All right, there we go. That's what the first box makes. So far, this build has been a ton of fun. There's just so many cool details in this. Anyway, let's go ahead and open up this second box. There's 17 more numbered bags, and then these two instruction booklets. And there we go. I got the rest of it put together, and this thing looks awesome. It took me just under 12 hours in total, so it was definitely a lengthy build, but it was a ton of fun, and there was a lot of really cool techniques they used to get all these angles to fit together. Before we take a look at the ship, we're going to take a closer look at these minifigures here. Now, depending on how you count them, the set came with 4 minifigures, with 3 of them being pretty much exclusive. First, we got the Mandalorian in his Season 1 armor. You can see he's got a lot of printing all over him. Some nice details on the arms. Got a small cape and then a blaster, which I wish was a single piece, but you know, it looks all right. Under the helmet, there is actually a face print, and it also came with a hair piece, so you can display them like this too. It's pretty cool. We've seen this pod before, but it's a decent design. Works pretty well. There's a closer look at him, looking pretty nice. Here we got the Mithril. You can see he's chained up in some handcuffs. He's got some decent printing for his jacket. No leg printing though. The head printing is okay, but for such an expensive set, I would have expected him to have a molded head and not just this standard minifigure head. Anyway, moving along to the last figure, we got the Ugnaught Queel and the Blurg that he rides. Queel actually does have a molded head, which just makes you wonder why the last one didn't. Anyway, he's got some decent prints on him and then a brick-built backpack. Then of course there's this Blurg, which is also brick-built. He's got some funny little short arms on both sides and then some cool printed tiles for the eyes. And personally, I think it looks really cool. And of course there's a spot up top to stick Queel so he can ride it. Pretty cool. And it is pretty disappointing that the plaque is a sticker and not printed. But anyway, it still looks all right. And you can just set it up in front of the Razor Crest. And it looks pretty nice as a display. And now taking a closer look at the Razor Crest, to I'm sure no one's surprised, this thing is massive. It has some really detailed landing gear. They look awesome. You can see the doors on either side where it would fold up into the ship. Here's the back landing gear. And you can see it's got a similar design for the foot on this one. And is plenty strong enough to hold the weight of the ship. It is just stuck in place and doesn't fold up, but it's not like you're going to be flying this thing around, so that's not a problem at all. Then the front has these massive guns on it, and they look great. As far as the side of the ship, it's mostly just light gray, but it still has a lot of cool details in it. Unfortunately though, these tiles here are stickers and not printed, and the light gray part doesn't quite match. And also on the side is this door that you can fold out. It's super cool. Sadly, there's no studs here, so you can't really put a minifigure on there, but that does allow it to be pretty seamless with the outside of the panel. Moving along to the back, there's some more cool detail pieces on it. And then all the way at the back, there's actually a functional ramp that folds down like this. It's kind of got 2 sections to it, which is pretty cool. And then I really like these strut pieces. And you can use it to load up the Blurg. Going back to the front, there's this removable top piece for the cockpit, which is super detailed, but we'll take a closer look at that in just a second. And the 2 larger clear pieces are printed, but unfortunately the one in the center is just a sticker. And it's pretty ugly how the 2 curved pieces meet. Anyway, moving along, the top of it is super detailed, really cool. Has lots of different vents on it and other cool details. It's also tiled off fairly well, and just overall looks great, which is what I'd expect for a display set like this. In the center is this pretty simple removable escape pod. Looks pretty cool, and it fits 1 minifigure in there. And then both of these engines are the same, just mirrored onto either side, and they look awesome. A lot of cool details on these, like all the vents and chains. Then at the back, it kind of transforms into a cone. Looks awesome. And now I'm going to take all these panels off, and we're going to take a look at the inside. You can see most of the panels just have a few studs that hold them on, but since this really isn't a play set and is mainly meant for display, but you should still know that some of the panels are attached pretty loosely, so you do have to be careful with it. Starting off with the front, you can see there's a super detailed cockpit, just a whole bunch of control panels, got a couple seats in there too. Moving back, you can see there's this really cool door that actually opens, and right past that is a spot you can put the pod and Grogu. In the back, you can see there's a little clip to hold Mando's blaster, and then right behind that is another cool little detail. It's just the container of the frog lady's eggs. If you want to get to the section under it, you can pull this whole thing out, and there's a bunch more detail on the second layer here. You can see this is Mando's bed. You can just lay him on there and then set it back in there if you want. Under it, there's some cool wiring. There's also a whole bunch more buttons. Right next to the door, there's a ladder. Then just some crates with a bowl on top. If you pull them out, you can see the crates have these little, I think they're grenades in them. I'm not quite sure. Then right next to that is kind of the weapons room. Pull it out here. Then open up the doors, and you can see it's got a few different guns in it. Pretty cool. Then on top of it, you can see there's a little print. Not quite sure what it says, but I'm sure it's a cool Easter egg. There's also a rack right there for Boba Fett's armor. Pretty cool. On the other side, you can see there's actually these carbonite pods. You can unclip those and take them out. You can see there's two different ones there. And then this here is where it actually freezes them. You can actually put the mithril in there. Super cool. And that's pretty much it on the inside. Behind that is just the cargo bay. So yeah, overall, this set is awesome. It has so many cool little details and Easter eggs that just makes it a really cool set. And like I said, it is definitely a display set and not really meant to be played with, but if you got to pick it up to move it around, you can do that just fine. It's plenty strong enough for that. You just have to be careful where you place your hands. So yeah, apart from a couple of those things I mentioned, like the stickers, this is an awesome set, and I definitely say it's worth the price.